In my honest opinion, Derek Carr is the biggest empty stat slash stat collector quarterback that we've seen in the NFL for quite a long time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, empty stats are basically like if you're on either a terrible team or you're on a good team and suck when there's any sort of pressure, those are and you don't make the playoffs, those are empty stats because your stats literally do not mean a goddamn thing. That is what empty stats mean, and being a stat collector means that, you collect stats in low pressure games against terrible teams, but when the lights are at the brightest setting, and when you're facing a good team, a top defense in the NFL, you become a below average quarterback. Because in reality, Derek Carr is a below average, barely starting caliber quarterback. He's probably he's either like 28 or 29 or maybe even 30, in my opinion, when it comes to starting quarterbacks. He should not be a starter in the NFL for a prolonged period of time. He is a good spot starter that, can win you some games against bad or average teams, but will never win you a game in a high-pressure situation when you need to win the most against a top defense. What Derek Carr does is he goes on these stretches where he looks amazing, and then he goes on stretches where he looks like shit. And then, usually it's like beginning of the season, mid-season, and at the end of the season, when the season's basically already over for the team because there's almost no way they can make the playoffs, or there's a way they can make the playoffs. But Derek Carr, it's Derek Carr, he's not going to lead you to the playoffs, if we're being honest. So he goes on a good stretch at the end of the season when the season no longer matters. This guy's played, one playoff game in a decade being in the NFL? If that doesn't tell you all you need to know about Derek Carr as a quarterback, I don't know what to tell you folks, because he's done this shit so many times where he will stat pad against trash defenses. He'll pull a Matthew Stafford and he'll play a bum defense. He'll throw fucking 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, have like a over 120 fucking QBR and look like a rating, and it looks like a damn beast. He'll look like a machine at quarterback out there on the field. And then the very next week they'll play like the Eagles, or they'll play a good defense. They'll play some defense that is actually capable of stopping a team with any sort of offensive firepower, and they will score 10 points. He'll throw 2 interceptions, probably an under 60 completion percentage with a lost fumble, and he'll under 200 yards. He'll play a shit game, and that's the Derek Carr experience. That is the Derek Carr cycle. You get him playing against these horrible teams where he looks like a fucking world champion. He looks like a world beater. He looks like a superstar, quarterback. And then the next game he'll play against a top 10 defense in the NFL and he'll look lost. He'll look like a fucking deer in goddamn headlights. This is something that a starting quarterback, a starting caliber quarterback, would never do. It's hot and cold. You can't be doing that as a quarterback where you play good against shit teams and then when you face a good team you suck. And then at the end of the season, when it doesn't matter because you basically single-handedly knocked your team out of playoff contention with poor games against good teams on your schedule, all of a sudden you want to go on a rampage, you want to go on a tear at the end of the season when your chances of making the playoffs are basically either you can't make the playoffs or there's a very minimal chance. You need other teams to lose. You need to be absolutely perfect, and it needs to be a perfect world for you to see any sort of playoff scenario whatsoever. Derek Carr is the master of this. He baits you. He's the biggest tease quarterback in the history of the National Football League. He looks great. He looks awesome against bad teams. He looks like he could be, the franchise signal caller when you're playing a bum team, when you're playing a bottom 10 defense. But when you play a top 10, top 5, top 3 defense, he will show his true colors. He will be a piece of shit quarterback, and he will fold under any sort of pressure, regardless of what top 10 defense he is playing. It doesn't matter. As long as it's top 10, he will look like a bum. And he will look like he's never thrown a football in his life. He's never read a coverage in his life. He's capable of reading coverage. He's got the strong arm. He's got everything you want in a quarterback. He's getting up there in age, so his skills are going to sort of be declining these next couple of years. So the Saints giving him that just ridiculous contract, that was absolutely nonsensical. You don't pay a guy who can't win a pressure game that much fucking money. I mean, it really doesn't even make any sense. That's like what Atlanta did. They paid Kirk Cousins all that fucking money. I don't even know how much money they paid the guy, but they paid him like 100-something million, some ridiculous contract. And they selected a quarterback because they knew that, oh shit, this Kirk Cousins guy we just signed, they must have did the film study, or they must have reviewed him after they signed him to that contract, because they drafted a quarterback immediately after, and they realized that, oh shit, Kirk Cousins sucks in pressure games. He's basically Kirk Cousins. They're the same fucking player. Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr are the exact same quarterback. just got different names, got different faces, they're different heights, and they play for different teams in the NFL. It's sad to see because Derek Carr actually is, against bad teams, he's a good quarterback. And you'd hope that would translate when you're playing, when you're playing a good team. Hopefully he played good against this good defense, but never. He never does that. He never comes through in the big moments. He never steps up in the clutch moments. He's very turnover prone against these really good defenses, and that's what's kept him from being called a good quarterback, by most people. By most people that watch football, most casual fans, they will say that, he's average. And people say he's average because he never steps up to the plate and knocks a fucking grand slam when the team is down by 3 runs. He never does that, and he never will do that because he's getting up there in age. His skills are rapidly declining. It's over for Derek Carr. He'll never win a Super Bowl, especially with the Saints. They got a garbage offensive line. They got 0 weapons. That team is going to lose that team's going to lose fucking 10, 11 games this year. They're going to get a top 10 pick. It's not looking good for the Saints. It's not looking good for Derek Carr. A lot of people overrated his skills early in his career, and he got all this hype, and then you realize he plays bum teams, looks great, and he plays great teams and looks like a bum. That's the Derek Carr cycle. Thank you all for watching. This has been Mr. Truth, and this is nothing but the truth.